Life is full of reminders of what we lack. There is always going to be someone more successful, more talented, and more attractive than we are. The emotion of envy is often confused with jealousy, and it's something that I mixed up for such a long time. But envy involves two parties, and it means that you want what somebody else has, whether that's their qualities, their success, or their possessions. Whereas jealousy requires three parties, and it means you feel threatened or suspicious that somebody might take something from you that you already have. So jealousy very much refers to the anxiety you feel around losing your accomplishments, your status, or your partner to another person. So jealousy involves external parties, whereas envy is very much internal and it is all going on within us. But jealousy and envy both involve comparisons, and comparisons is the thief of our joy. So jealousy would be what you feel if you saw your boyfriend flirting with another girl, and then envy would be what you would feel if your friend just got a promotion in a job, or you saw your friend driving in the latest model of the newest car. These feelings are something we all experience throughout our life, and we've all experienced, you know, they're part of being a human being and they're so valid and so normal, but they can also very quickly spiral out of control. And if that does happen, it can lead to anxiety, depression, poor self-esteem, and emotional self-sabotage. And we don't want that to happen. So today we're going to be talking about how to turn our comparisons and our envy into our power, and not letting that envy and that comparison be in control of us. My earliest memories of feeling envious of others go back to being a literal child. I remember being like 6 years of age, and I had this childhood best friend. Like, we were literally like this, okay? And I was very shy and more kind of reserved, and she was much more loud and outgoing. And we both lived in two different housing estates, okay? And I'd often used to go over to her house after school. So what I began to notice from going over to her house was that she had like this big group of friends who also lived in her housing estate, and they were all like similar ages, but every evening or most evenings they'd all go out and play together in the green or whatever. Now, I also lived in a big estate, but the difference was that a lot of the kids in my estate were older than me, and also I was just more quiet, and I didn't find it as easy to make friends and put myself out there as she did. I remember feeling so envious of how outgoing she was. So it wasn't even about the friends, it was solely down to her qualities, you know, as a person. Another time that really sticks out to me was I was about 15 years of age and I was in secondary school. So, you know, you've just started going through puberty and all, you're really insecure at that age, you know, you're trying to figure everything out. And I was getting teased a lot for my weight because I was quite slim. And, you know, people would often say things like, it looks like my legs are going to break. Would I eat a sandwich? Like putting their fingers around my wrist like this. And I remember being so envious of the girls who were growing boobs and bums and hips, and I just wasn't. So I would look at these girls and I would be comparing myself so heavily to them and just wanting to be more womanly and feel more womanly because I was being told I didn't look womanly enough. I didn't grow big boobs or big bum or hips, you know, and it made me feel less than. And then I started to resent these girls solely because I was envious of them and I wanted what they had. And that is something that a lot of us women go through, is comparing ourselves to one another. We're literally pitted against each other in society to do that, you know. But one of the most important things I learned over the years is how important it is for your clothes to fit you. You're not meant to fit your clothes, you know. For years I was trying to dress how she was dressing, but I had a different body to her, you know, and I need to fit my body. And this is where I would like to thank Fabletics for sponsoring today's video. One of my favourite things about Fabletics is how inclusive they are and how much it matters to them that us women feel good in what we're wearing. Their sizes go from extra small to 4X, and they cover so many of their measurements that so many brands miss. Like, most brands are giving us like 6 sizes, and it's like, I'm sorry, a whole population does not fit into 6 sizes, you know. I am not joking when I say I literally want to be buried in one of Fabletics seamless sets. This pinky purple set is an absolute dream. They literally just hold you in all the right places. Whenever I put on one of Fabletics seamless sets, I'm like, where did this body come from? Because she's not mine. Fabletics have absolutely killed it with their jackets this winter. So this is the black essential puffer, and this is an essential. It most definitely is. So it's a crop black jacket. It is so warm. It's a puffer, and it literally goes with absolutely everything, like dressed up, dressed down. We also have the all-weather jacket. So we have it in this beautiful cream. Now, this was actually part of Khloe Kardashian's collection, and I adore this jacket. So it actually has 2 pockets, which you wouldn't believe. So it has your normal normal pockets in the side, and then it also has the pockets up top, as you can see, the little buttons. So super handy. I love when pockets aren't just there for show. Do you know the way a lot of clothes will put pockets on just for look? Whereas Fabletics always make these little bits functional as well, which we adore. We also have the all-weather jacket in grey, so it's literally just your perfect winter coat. And it also comes in black and pink if you like a pop of colour or you like to keep it more neutral. I personally always like to get myself a little something for Christmas. I think it's nice to treat yourself, so you could treat yourself to a gym set or like a winter coat because it's going to be cold for the next couple of months. I feel like it's a nice functional way to get yourself something because you're also going to get good use out of it. And they currently have up to 60% off everything on site, so I will have a link down below so you can go over, check them out. There's such huge discounts over there at the minute. But yeah, thank you so much, Fabletics. So how do we turn this pain into our power? Okay, so first things first, we need to acknowledge it. Admitting that we are feeling envy can be very threatening because it means acknowledging your own insecurities and your own weaknesses. But being able to acknowledge it is the first step in being able to deal with it. The second thing we need to do is we need to replace envy with compassion. One of the first things I learned about envy is that much of its power is derived from a lack of information or pure and utter ignorance. When we break it all down, at its core, envy is either a lie or it's an illusion. Envy blinds you to the fullness of another person's life, which includes joy and pain, failure and success, flaws and beauty, good days and bad days. Envy gives you a deceptive and incomplete picture. For example, envy ignores the hours and hours and hours that went into work for them to get that promotion so that they can get that high paying salary. It also ignores the sacrifice of time that they could have spent with family and friends. They could have spent going on holidays. They could have spent on their hobbies. It normally overlooks the years of study and practice and hard work and stress and failures and all of it. It overlooks all of it. It's so irresponsible to look at one part of one person's life and envy it. You have to look at the full picture, the good, the bad and the ugly. Life is not a pick and choose buffet where you can just pick the things you like most on your plate and put back the things that you don't like, you know. I'm sorry to have to be the one to tell you, but none of us get through this life without pain, suffering, failures, loss, insecurities, heartbreak. None of us get through it. It's pretty easy to look at someone and envy their wealth or their house or their partner or their job or their friendships, but it's so much harder to look at someone's whole life and envy all of it because that includes a multitude of experiences. There's this quote, I don't know if you've heard it before, but it goes, if we all threw our problems in a pile, we'd all very quickly run and grab ours back. So if you want what someone else has, just say you want their high paying job, it means you have to take everything else. You know, maybe they have abusive parents, you know, maybe they're in a really unhealthy relationship, maybe they have a very debilitating health condition that means that they're actually only going to be able to work for the next 10 years because after that they're going to be crippled. You know, you have to take all of it, and when you have to weigh in on all of it, you're more than likely going to be satisfied with your lot and go running back for your problems when you see what they have. Yeah, they might have the salary, but they're dealing with all that other stuff behind the door. Now, of course, every life does not balance out, and life, for sure, one thing life is life isn't fair. You know, we don't all get the same amount of pain and sufferings and loss. You know, some people are born into wealth. You know, some people just seem to be able to constantly create opportunities for it. Some people seem that no matter how hard they try, that they cannot just get off their feet. You know, of course, we don't all suffer the same amount, but we all have our storms and we all have our sunshine. No one's life is completely free of shortcomings and suffering and pain, you know, like we often can feel when you're envying somebody or something that they have. You just see it in this godly light as if their life is incredible. So the next thing what we need to do is we need to take our envy and we need to turn that envy into admiration and use it as motivation. Now, when our envy is rooted in things that we cannot change about ourselves, such as a difficult childhood, a traumatic event, or certain health conditions, trying to turn our envy into admiration and use it as motivation is just going to dig us deeper into frustration and self-blame because these are things completely out of our control. However, sometimes envy alerts us to things that we want that are potentially in our reach if we make certain changes. So what I always do is, if I'm feeling envious of someone, I go and ask myself, am I willing to do what it takes to get what they have? And if the answer is no, then that envy and that jealousy starts to evaporate. However, if the answer is yes, and I am willing to do what it takes to reach or get that thing, then that turns my envy into a little seed, and it starts planting a little dream in my head, and I've got to start watering this plant now, and I've got to get to work. To give you an example, I've been obsessed with YouTube for as long as I can remember, like 12, 13, I was obsessed with Zoella, Bethany Mota, I was just hooked on YouTube. And I remember being like 13, 14 and crying myself to sleep because I so desperately wanted to make YouTube videos, build a community, create content, but I was like, I'm never gonna be able to do that. Because look at my house, look at hers. I don't have all this money, she does. I don't have this equipment, she does. Look at my like opportunities in life versus hers, you know, just all these reasons as to why I couldn't do it. But then, you know, as the years went on, this dream didn't die. It was just getting bigger and bigger, you know, but I was too afraid to start it in school. So literally, I remember in my last year of school, I had decided that as soon as this year is done, I am starting this YouTube channel. So I took that frustration and envy and jealousy and I used it to my advantage, you know. So sometimes your envy is showing you what you really want and what you can achieve, but you've just got to work for it, you know. You've just got to put your time and energy and sacrifice towards the thing that you want. So instead of focusing on your lack of, because that's what envy is, you're looking at your lack instead of looking at the abundance of what you do have in your life and how can you use what you have to leverage to where you want to get to. Are you with me? One of the most important things we have to do to overcome this comparison and this envy within us is to count your blessings. Envy is the art of counting other people's blessings. So if you're able to count her blessings, you're able to go into the mirror, look in the mirror and count your own, because you're counting her sunshine and you're only counting your storms. She also has storms and you also have sunshine in your life. So you need to find it. And normally once you start counting your blessings, you start to realize how many you do have. I have shelter. I have food. I have clean water. I have a warm bed. I have heating in the evenings. Like, you just start going, and then you're like, whoa, I am blessed. It is really difficult to be jealous when you're grateful because envy focuses on lack. What is lacking, you know, whereas gratitude focuses on your blessings and what you do have. And it's often what angle we're looking at things, you know, it's always the perspective we're coming at. Two people can have the same childhood and turn out so different, even though they're living in the same house, the same two parents, because their perspective on what's happening to them are different. You know, two people are going to experience things differently. So you need to start changing that perspective. And then what you got to start doing is you need to start focusing on your talents and your assets, okay? Now that you've stopped comparing yourself to people, look at what you have going for you. Because something that you often can forget is that you're going to have something that others are envious of as well, even though you can't see it because you're too focused on your lack of, you know. Maybe if you became more grateful, you'd start to see that you do have a lot of blessings, you know. When you find your mind to start drifting to, like, you know, your lack, what you don't have, try and start pulling yourself back to what you do have, you know, and reminding yourself that you have things that others don't have as well. My goodness, you need to start living by your own definition of success. Your own, not hers, not his, not your mum's, not your dad's, not your brother's, your own definition. Success does not necessarily mean being the top of your ladder in your job, having the biggest house, having 2 cars in the driveway, 5 holidays a year. Success is about finding out what life is best for you and living it to the fullest. If you stop focusing on what society's definition of success is and you can find out what gets you going every day, you'll be so much less likely to fall into the trap of comparing yourself to other people and feeling envious of others because you'll be too focused on your own path. And it's important to remind yourself that it's okay to be at a different stage to where others are at in life, you know. Just say you are so jealous that your friend has a partner because that's all you want, you know. That doesn't make you any less of a person or mean that you're not going to get to experience that in your life. It just means that you're at two different points in your life. For all you know, he could cheat on her in 5 years' time and they'll end up divorced, and then she's starting again and she's like, I can't believe this is where I've ended up, you know? You just don't know where life is going to take you. Life is not a series of boxes that we all check off on our way to happiness. You know, A, B, and C doesn't equal happiness for everybody. Like, if the same things made all of us happy, the world would be the most boring place in the world, because we'd all be doing the same thing every day at the same time every day. Just because you're envious of somebody or you don't have something that you want in your life, it doesn't mean that you're never going to get there. But you need to start focusing on your path, because they're going in an entirely different direction. And you might like the direction they're heading in at the minute, but in 2 years' time, that's not the direction you want to be going down. You're going to want to be back on your path over here, you know? Someone else's success is not your failure, and your success is not someone else's failure. And most importantly, you need to remind yourself that you are in control. For example, right, just say you see somebody who's got like a designer wardrobe and you're like, oh my god, I'm so jealous, like I would kill to have a wardrobe like that. Technically, you could go and get a credit card and run your credit card through the roof and get yourself a few designer bits. But you're not going to do that, are you? Because that's extremely irresponsible and it's not a very good decision. For all you know, that's what she's done. You know, you don't know. You don't know what's going on beyond what people are showing you, you know? So many people who appear to have a lot of money are in so much debt, you know? So you should be proud of yourself for making that decision. Like, I'm not going to run myself into debt just to have designer items, because that doesn't make any logical sense to me, you know? If you're making wise decisions for yourself, for example, that's a wise financial decision, you should be nothing but proud of yourself. You most definitely shouldn't be beating yourself down, tearing yourself down, judging yourself for where you're at in life. You shouldn't be doing any of them things, you know. I came across this woman who's a palliative nurse for end-of-life care, and she interviews people on their last day. And she asked people what their biggest regret was. And most people said that their biggest regret was living a life that was not true to themselves. And if that doesn't sum up everything that we've spoken about today, I don't know what does. You don't want to live a life that's true to your friend or your mum, your dad, your sister, whoever, this stranger online. You need to live a life true to you. My camera battery's flashing, so I'm going to have to wrap it up here, but I really hope you've taken something away from today's video. Don't forget that there is up to 60% off everything down below. Thank you so much for watching. I love you all so very much, and I cannot wait to see you all in my next video. Bye bye.